One Nation Under Blackmail, Volume 2. This video is based on key insights from the book One Nation Under Blackmail, Volume 2 by Whitney Webb. Introduction. Whitney Webb delves into the mysterious world of Jeffrey Epstein, focusing on his ties to blackmail, corruption, and hidden secrets. Epstein's arrest in July 2019 and subsequent death in August sparked national attention, leading many to suspect foul play to shield his high-powered associates from exposure. Despite Ghislaine Maxwell's conviction for sex trafficking, most of Epstein's accomplices remain untouched by legal action, thanks to a lenient plea deal from the past. A significant plot point revolves around Alex Acosta, Epstein's former U.S. attorney who approved the sweetheart deal. Acosta hinted at Epstein's intelligence ties when he joined the Trump administration, implying that Epstein was protected because of his links to intelligence agencies. This suggestion was met with skepticism and lack of confirmation from Acosta himself. Reports suggested connections between Epstein and both CIA and Israeli intelligence, yet mainstream media largely ignored these claims in favor of more sensational aspects of the case. Epstein was portrayed as a lone mastermind behind a vast sex trafficking operation and an accomplished con artist, despite evidence suggesting otherwise. For instance, Cindy McCain publicly stated that many knew about Epstein's activities, yet authorities seemed reluctant to act. Webb questions why Epstein was shielded from justice for so long regarding both his sex trafficking and financial crimes. She argues that Epstein wasn't an isolated figure, but one linked to a century-old network of individuals using sexual blackmail to control influential figures, all connected through organized crime and intelligence. In Volume 2, Webb explores Epstein's early career, revealing under-examined associates who likely played crucial roles in his rise. She details Epstein's ties to Leslie Wexner, focusing on the latter's business empire where Epstein held positions seemingly linked to espionage. The book also scrutinizes Ghislaine Maxwell's relationship with Epstein following her father's death and discusses their extensive connections to the Clinton White House during 1990-31995, revealing a potential major scandal yet to be fully investigated. The narrative culminates in examining Epstein/Maxwell relationships with big tech figures like Bill Gates and Nathan Myhrvold, tracing connections to intelligence networks and the successors of stolen PROMIS software, originally linked to Robert Maxwell's activities. Webb posits that blackmail methods evolved alongside technological advancements, with digital surveillance now serving as a powerful tool. Epstein and Maxwell allegedly sought influence over Silicon Valley executives, investing in data harvesting firms and mass surveillance technologies. This shift enabled the existing power structures to control information more effectively than ever before, turning the U.S., according to Webb's perspective, into a nation governed by blackmail rather than divine will. Chapter 1: The Rise of Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein's early life and career are marked by unusual beginnings and connections to influential figures. Born in Brooklyn, New York in 1953, Epstein was the son of Paula Stolovsky and Seymour Epstein. His parents valued education, aiming for him and his brother Mark to rise through society's ranks. Epstein attended Lafayette High School and skipped 2 grades, graduating at 16 in 1969. He then studied at Cooper Union from fall 1969 to spring 1971 and NYU from 1971 to 1974, though he never earned a degree. During his time at NYU, Epstein claimed to have backpacked across Europe in 1971, where he met British cellist Jacqueline du Pré, reportedly gaining access to the British royals through her. In 1974, Epstein began teaching mathematics and physics at the prestigious Dalton School, a position he held until 1976. His hiring is shrouded in mystery, with conflicting accounts of who made the decision. Some suggest it was headmaster Donald Barr, known for hiring unconventional teachers to enhance students' educational experiences. Others claim it was Barr's predecessor or the math department head. Epstein's time at Dalton was marked by allegations of inappropriate behavior with teenage girls. Former students recall him attending parties and showing persistent attention to female students. Despite these claims, Epstein left the school following concerns about his teaching skills from colleagues. After leaving Dalton, Epstein joined Bear Stearns on Wall Street in 1976. His rapid rise within the firm was attributed to his knowledge of U.S. tax codes and ability to help wealthy clients with esoteric market projects. By 1980, he became a limited partner at the company. Epstein's abrupt departure from Bear Stearns in 1981 has been linked to an illegal operations, investigation, and insider trading related to Seagram's failed tender offer for St. Joe Minerals Corp. During this period. Epstein claimed to have managed money only for billionaires, but lacked evidence of such a formal role until founding J. Epstein & Co. in 1988. Instead, he was involved in less conventional activities, including acting as a bounty hunter and recovering lost funds on behalf of the rich and powerful. This period also saw Epstein's connections to arms dealer Douglas Leese, Saudi arms merchant Adnan Khashoggi, and Chinese weapons producer Norinco. In the late 1980s, Epstein was introduced to Stephen Hoffenberg by Leese, marking a significant shift in his career. Together, they would later be implicated in one of the largest Ponzi schemes in U.S. history, involving Towers Financial Corporation. Despite Epstein's central role in the fraud, he was never charged, while Hoffenberg served time in prison. Epstein's connections to intelligence networks remain a mystery, with some speculating that his Austrian passport issued in the 1980s under an alias was procured through unconventional means, possibly involving U.S. Ambassador Ronald Lauder, or former ambassador Helene von Dam's deputy Felix Bloch. These ties suggest Epstein's entanglement in intelligence operations during his early career, setting the stage for his later notoriety as a facilitator of sex trafficking and blackmail schemes with Ghislaine Maxwell. Chapter 2: The Property Developer. Whitney Webb explores the intricate web of real estate dealings and potential corruption involving the Goulettas family and their connections to figures like Jeffrey Epstein. The Goulettas clan, consisting of Victor, Nicholas, and Evangeline, built a vast real estate empire spanning from Chicago to San Diego through multiple firms and holding companies. Their flagship company, American Invesco Corp., suddenly saw massive profits in the late 1970s, though the origin of their wealth remains unclear. Rumors suggested Greek shipping magnate Aristotle Onassis or Middle Eastern money as sources, but a more controversial theory points to organized crime connections. American Invesco's interest in New York's Olympic Tower and partnership with JP Construction Company, which specialized in Middle Eastern projects, fueled these suspicions. There were even whispers of ties to Greek mobsters in Chicago. Douglas Crocker, too, a longtime president of American Invesco, had an intriguing past, having partnered with Sam Zell, another major player in the Chicago real estate scene. Both were also linked to Burton Cantor, a mob-connected attorney who joined forces with CIA banker Paul Helliwell to establish Castle Bank and Trust. In 1976, Cantor, Zell, and associates faced tax evasion charges related to the sale of a Reno apartment complex. In 1983, the Goulettas entered the savings and loan sector by acquiring Imperial Corp., which controlled various thrifts across the U.S. through its subsidiary, Imperial Savings and Loan. This move was influenced by Saul Steinberg, a corporate raider linked to Michael Milken's junk bond pipeline. Gibraltar Savings in Texas eventually passed into Ronald Perelman's hands after the Goulettas bought 25% of Imperial Corp. American Invesco's portfolio swelled with Drexel Burnham Lambert junk bonds, and they sought financing from Milken clients like Fred Carr's First Executive Corp. However, both American Invesco and First Executive went bankrupt in 1990 amidst allegations of stock manipulation. Alan Tesler, the Goulettas' attorney and board member, briefly served as Imperial CEO to restructure its finances, but failed. Tesler had a storied career at Shea and Good law firm, representing mobsters like Frank Costello and Roy Cohn. His clients also included Earl Bryan, tied to PROMIS software scandal and organized crime, as well as Ronald Reagan crony Leslie Wexner. Evangeline Gouladaskary relocated IMB Capital to New York City in 1985, overseeing its operations. The firm acquired Electronic Realty Associates, Inc.'s remote mortgage origination software from Control Data Corp., a company with ties to the Navy and technology transfer. Webb then delves into Jeffrey Epstein's early connections in real estate, linking him to Donald Trump and Leslie Wexner. Epstein began branding himself as a property developer around 1987, focusing on questionable transactions involving repeated sales of properties for minimal sums, including one acquired from the U.S. State Department. New York real estate has a history of money laundering, and Trump's ventures have faced allegations of involvement in such activities. Epstein's connections to organized crime are intertwined with Wexner's own ties to crime, suggesting potential links between their real estate dealings. Parkview Financial, originally an affiliate of Wexner's companies, became crucial for managing his New York City real estate interests post-1987. This firm, later owned by Epstein's brother Mark, facilitated Wexner and Epstein's acquisition of the Dara Gardens condominium complex in Queens. Webb also examines ASA Properties, a firm connected to Epstein through his brother Mark. ASA acquired 301 East 66th Street and converted it into a luxury condo building, managing properties that allegedly housed underage girls from foreign countries as part of Epstein's sex trafficking operation. Finally, Webb scrutinizes two Manhattan mansions linked to Epstein, 9 East 71st Street and its adjacent property at 11 East 71st Street. Both were owned by entities connected to Leslie Wexner and Jeffrey Epstein, with Epstein's influence evident in the surveillance systems installed at 9 East 71st Street, reminiscent of those used for blackmail. The intricate ties among real estate moguls, organized crime, intelligence services, and suspicious financial dealings raise questions about the true nature of Epstein's wealth and influence within these interconnected networks. Chapter 3: The World of Leslie Wexner. Whitney Webb's chapter explores the connections between Leslie Wexner, Jeffrey Epstein, and a network of influential figures with ties to organized crime. Leslie Wexner, born into a Russian Jewish family in Dayton, Ohio, started his retail business, The Limited, after clashing with his parents over their store's strategy. Despite initial resistance, he opened the first The Limited store at 26, borrowing money from his Aunt Ida. Wexner's success caught the eye of Milton Petrie, a wealthy retail baron who offered him a high salary and later to buy a significant stake in The Limited. Wexner declined both offers. During this period, Wexner connected with Alfred Taubman, a mentor who influenced his approach to retail and real estate. Max Fisher, another key figure, was a Detroit industrialist known for his rags to riches story. Fisher, admired by the media for his philanthropy and business acumen, had ties to organized crime, particularly Detroit's Purple Gang. He amassed wealth in oil, real estate, and influential roles like chairman of United Brands, later Chiquita Brands. Wexner joined Fisher's inner circle, benefiting from his mentorship. Together, they acquired the Irvine Ranch in California, a project involving Henry Ford II and other industrialists. Later, Wexner teamed up with Epstein to save Sotheby's auction house, purchased for $139 million. The chapter also delves into the 1985 murder of lawyer Arthur Shapiro, believed to be a professional hit linked to organized crime. Columbus-based accountant Barry Kessler was initially suspected due to his employees' claims that he received payment for the killing and had ties to similar unsolved murders. Despite evidence pointing towards a cover-up involving local law enforcement, no charges were filed against Kessler in Shapiro's murder. The suppression of critical police records suggests protection for Wexner, Epstein, and other prominent figures implicated in the case. The narrative highlights the deep connections between Wexner, Epstein, and a network extending to organized crime, raising questions about their roles in various business deals and potential criminal activities. Chapter 4: The Dark Side of Wexner's Philanthropy. Whitney Webb's chapter delves into Leslie Wexner's life and his mysterious Dybbuk, an entity that Wexner describes as a source of anxiety and constant urge for more wealth and power. This narrative unfolds against the backdrop of Wexner's rise to billionaire status, which coincided with his public image-building efforts facilitated by media profiles in outlets like New York Magazine and the New York Times. The Dybbuk is a Jewish folklore term for a restless, disembodied spirit, often associated with mischief or malevolence. Wexner's use of this term to describe his inner turmoil suggests deep-seated spiritual or psychological struggles that shape his life and business decisions. He describes the Dybbuk as an entity he's known since childhood, causing him to feel restless and impatient. Interestingly, Wexner frames this spiritual affliction not just as a source of personal discomfort, but also as integral to his genius and success in business. He even suggests that it motivates his acquisitive nature, the constant desire for more wealth and power. This portrayal of his Dybbuk is quite intriguing, especially considering Wexner's immense influence in Jewish communities worldwide through philanthropic efforts like the Wexner Foundation. The Wexner Foundation, established to foster stronger leadership within North American and Israeli Jewish communities, has been instrumental in shaping generations of Jewish leaders. Its programs, such as the Wexner Heritage Program, focus on developing volunteer leaders with deepened understanding of Jewish history and enhanced leadership skills. The foundation's influence extends to high-ranking positions in various communal organizations and government bodies. Notably, many of these leaders have ties to AIPAC, American Israel Public Affairs Committee, a group known for its close connections with Israeli intelligence. Wexner's philanthropy has also intertwined with Harvard University, where he's funded initiatives like the Center for Public Leadership at Harvard Kennedy School, which aims to cultivate future leaders. Wexner's close associations extend beyond his philanthropic endeavors. In 1991, alongside Charles Bronfman, he established the Mega Group, an exclusive club of influential Jewish businessmen ostensibly focused on philanthropy, but possibly harboring ulterior motives tied to controlling Jewish identity and politics. Some members have links to organized crime or intelligence networks, raising questions about the group's true intentions beyond charitable works. The chapter also hints at potential blackmail operations tied to Wexner and his associates, including Jeffrey Epstein, potentially influencing key political figures like U.S. senators during critical times such as the lead-up to the Iraq War. These elements together weave a complex tapestry of power, influence, and possibly illicit activities, shaping modern Jewish leadership and international relations. Chapter 5: Ghislaine Maxwell, Heiress to an Espionage Empire. Ghislaine Maxwell grew up surrounded by powerful figures due to her father, Robert Maxwell's influential publishing empire and political connections. Despite initial neglect after her elder brother's car accident left him in a coma, Ghislaine was later favored by her domineering father. He controlled every aspect of her life, especially her relationships, banning boyfriends from their home and public appearances. Maxwell saw similarities between himself and Ghislaine, believing she shared his ambition and cunning. This led him to promote her romantically with elite individuals as a tool for expanding his influence. After Oxford, Maxwell arranged jobs for Ghislaine within his businesses, such as serving as a director of the British football club Oxford United alongside her brother Kevin, and working at Pergamon Press and Mirror Group. In 1985, The People, a Sunday edition of Daily Mirror, published a story alleging blackmail attempts against Robert Maxwell due to Ghislaine's alleged affair with David Manners, the future Duke of Rutland. This article showcased an odd situation where her father publicly exploited her alleged relationship for his benefit, despite previously controlling her love life tightly. Around this time, Ghislaine started a feminist club called Kit Kat Club, though its true intentions seemed to be more about advancing her social connections. The club often had male attendees and was associated with various elite figures, including Jeffrey Archer and future UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson's parents. While dating Italian aristocrat Count Gianfranco Cicogna from 1986 to around 1990, Ghislaine reportedly began her involvement in her father's intelligence activities. She accompanied him frequently and worked for Macmillan Inc., a company he acquired to establish his presence in the U.S. Rothschild Inc. had encouraged this purchase as part of their strategy to help the Rothschild family reassert its prominence on Wall Street. As Maxwell's financial empire began crumbling due to overextension, he decided to buy New York Daily News in 1991, with Ghislaine managing special projects and a corporate gifts company he created for her. This move signified his intention to form a dynasty that would wield global financial and political power. Ghislaine's efforts to court the Kennedy family for her father's benefit included attending their events, hoping she'd marry John F. Kennedy Jr., and fostering friendships with prominent Kennedys like Joe Kennedy, too. Despite these connections, Robert Maxwell's sudden death in 1991 left his children scrambling to maintain the family empire, with Ghislaine eventually teaming up with Jeffrey Epstein for a sex trafficking and blackmail operation. Chapter 6: Crooked Campaigns. In 1993, Jeffrey Epstein's first official interaction with the Clinton White House occurred through Robert Rubin, who was then serving as director of the National Economic Council. This meeting is significant because Rubin had previously held top leadership roles at Goldman Sachs, a bank involved in financial fraud with Robert Maxwell, whose business empire collapsed due to misuse of pension funds. Rubin's role during this time likely exposed him to knowledge of shady dealings preceding Maxwell's death. Later, as Treasury Secretary, Rubin played a major part in managing the fallout from these financial crimes. In 1994, Epstein became a Clinton donor, making his second White House visit alongside Ghislaine Maxwell to attend a reception for donors contributing to White House renovations. He had likely made a $10,000 donation to the White House Historical Association before or during his first visit in February 1993. Ann Stock, then White House Social Secretary and later found in Epstein's contact book, was the point of contact for this reception. The project, costing nearly $400,000, was funded entirely by private donations. Epstein attended the reception, which included a tour of the refurbished White House, with his photo later published by the Daily Mail in December 2021. Key figures present were Clark Clifford and other influential individuals like Vince Foster, who had been under surveillance before his suicide, linked to the PROMIS scandal. Foster's death raised suspicions due to lack of blood at the scene and contradictory reports about it. Rubin's successor as Treasury Secretary was Lawrence Summers, who, along with Rubin, had engineered the repeal of Glass-Steagall, leading to economic instability that contributed to the 2008 crisis. Epstein is also alleged to have played a role in this financial turmoil by seemingly instigating Bear Stearns' collapse. Summers had close ties to Henry Rosovsky, associated with Leslie Wexner's business and Epstein at the time. Summers took flights on Epstein's plane in 1998 while serving as Deputy Treasury Secretary. In 2020, Leon Black claimed that clients of Epstein included heads of state and a U.S. Treasury Secretary, likely Rubin or Summers, based on his knowledge from Epstein's inner circle. The White House renovations, funded by Epstein, Goldsmith, Clifford, and others, were highlighted in a 1993 New York Times article. This fundraising effort was controversial due to its connection with Vince Foster's suicide note, alleging improper use of private funds for renovations. The note, now known to be likely forged, aimed to clear Hillary Clinton and decorator Cocky Hockersmith from any involvement in financial misconduct related to the project. Vince Foster's death is shrouded in mystery. Found dead in Fort Marcy Park on July 20, 1993, Foster had last been seen at the White House with no recorded exit. The official cause of death was suicide, but several inconsistencies surround this conclusion, including a reported lack of blood at the scene and unresolved questions about the murder weapon. An unauthorized search of Foster's office occurred between his discovery and identification, potentially related to the scandalous suicide note. The event's point of contact was Anne Stock, appearing in Epstein's contacts list, a 1978 member of the secretive 1001 Club, known for financing World Wildlife Foundation efforts, included Rubin and other notables like Agha Hassan Abedi, BCCI founder, and Peter Lilly, Trade and Industry Secretary. Rubin's deputy as Treasury Secretary was Lawrence Summers, who, alongside Rubin, engineered the Glass-Steagall repeal. Both men had close relationships with Epstein. Summers took flights on his plane in 1998 and later helped orchestrate his 2006 fundraiser for Bill Clinton's library. The 1993 White House donor reception saw Epstein's first appearance alongside Maxwell, with Rubin likely instrumental in connecting them to the Clintons. This event occurred just months after Epstein began his Clinton donations and Foster's death, raising suspicions about potential connections among these individuals. Chapter 7, Epstein's Enterprise. In this chapter, Whitney Webb explores the intricate connections between Jeffrey Epstein, Leslie Wexner's The Limited Clothing Company, and two CIA-linked airlines, Aero Air and Southern Air Transport, SAT. Epstein's frequent visits to the White House during Bill Clinton's presidency coincided with significant business ventures involving Wexner and Epstein. These ventures centered around Rickenbacker International Airport in Columbus, Ohio, where SAT and Aero Air were courted to establish cargo operations linked to the Limited. Webb highlights how the Limited played a pivotal role in facilitating these airline ventures. For instance, in 1992, Aeroflot, the Russian state-owned airline, was brought to Columbus by AR Corp Aeroflot/Rickenbacker, with the Limited's Lee Johnson attending meetings and tour. Moreover, SAT and Aero Air were drawn to Rickenbacker due to their potential to link with Latin American cargo for destinations in the US, Europe, and Russia. Both airlines had histories tied to Iran-Contra arms smuggling operations. Aero Air even crashed while transporting contraband weapons in 1985. Webb also notes that SAT's relocation to Columbus was facilitated by Wexner and Epstein, despite SAT's previous CIA connections. This move involved lucrative Hong Kong to Columbus routes for the Limited. Meanwhile, Polar Air Cargo, linked to Southern Air Transport, began operations at Rickenbacker around the same time, further solidifying the area's cargo network's ties to intelligence and organized crime. The chapter hints at a larger narrative involving Epstein's role in brokering deals between Wexner's businesses and CIA-linked airlines, suggesting possible blackmail, corruption, and covert operations tied to these arrangements. It raises questions about the true motives behind these business ventures and the extent of Epstein's influence within this network. Chapter 8, Predators. Whitney Webb delves into Jeffrey Epstein's associates and their roles in his sex trafficking operation, focusing on blackmail, corruption, and hidden secrets. Epstein's early sex crimes are linked to his connections in the modeling industry, particularly through Jean-Luc Brunel. Brunel, a model scout for Carin models in Paris during the 1980s, allegedly lured underage girls with promises of European modeling careers. In 1988, a 60 Minutes expose revealed Brunel's predatory tactics. Despite controversy, he later co-founded Next Models with Faith Cates in 1989. Brunel and his brother, Arnaud, owned about 25% of Next Models until the mid-1990s. Epstein became associated with Brunel around this time through Ghislaine Maxwell, who reportedly introduced them. In 1995, Brunel moved to Trump Tower and continued his activities. Epstein's relationship with the Brunels and Cates remained strong even after their split in 1996. Epstein frequently visited Next Models' offices and dated some of its models, including Elena Puskow, whom he later arranged to work as a Victoria's Secret angel. Epstein also donated to Cates-linked philanthropies through his secret charity organization, Gratitude America Limited. Brunel's ties to Epstein deepened between 1999 and 2005, with over 20 flights on Epstein's private plane and regular visits to Epstein's Palm Beach residence. After Epstein's first prison stint, Brunel visited him around 70 times while also becoming close with Maxwell. Epstein's involvement in the modeling industry expanded when he tried to acquire the U.S. branch of Elite Models and failed in 2004. That year, the Paris branch of Carin Models sued Brunel for using their trademark. In 2005, Brunel rebranded his agencies as MC2 with Epstein's financial support. Webb also discusses how Epstein used Victoria's Secret to lure young women into his sex trafficking operation. Ghislaine Maxwell frequently accompanied him to Victoria's Secret events, acting as a Nazi guard over aspiring models. Epstein pretended to be the brand's owner or recruiter, offering modeling opportunities that often led to abuse. Epstein and Maxwell also targeted aspiring artists and musicians, referring to them as gallerinas. Maxwell would visit high-end art galleries and auction houses like Sotheby's and Christie's in search of these girls. Notable victims include Maria Farmer, a student at the New York Academy of Art who was later employed by Epstein, and Nadia Bjorlin, who was approached while attending Interlochen Center for the Arts in Michigan. In addition to professional recruits, Epstein and Maxwell lured economically disadvantaged local girls with promises of money or better lives. One such victim, Carolyn Minor Victim 4, was sexually abused by Epstein starting at age 14 in exchange for cash. Another, Haley Robson, was coerced into recruiting other young girls to massage Epstein after rejecting his advances. Ghislaine Maxwell played a crucial role in the operation by feigning friendship with victims and normalizing abnormal behavior to prepare them for extreme exploitation at Epstein's hands. She also recruited blackmail victims using similar tactics. One victim, Kate Minor Victim 3, described how Maxwell groomed her before introducing her to Epstein. Epstein's operation involved a network of accomplices, including Sarah Kellen and Leslie Groff. Kellen acted as an assistant to Maxwell and was instrumental in grooming young girls for abuse, while Groff coordinated travel and ensured victims' compliance with Epstein's rules. Some women, like Frances Jardine and Selena Medelfart, were treated better by Epstein, receiving career assistance or opportunities to meet wealthy men within his network. This group may have been used for influence operations, such as those involving White House officials. Examples include Nicole Junkerman, a businesswoman with ties to Epstein and Israeli intelligence, and Melanie Walker, a neurosurgeon who benefited from Epstein's connections to the Microsoft Gates Foundation ecosystem. In summary, Whitney Webb highlights how Jeffrey Epstein exploited his relationships in the modeling industry, fashion, art, music, and politics to run a sex trafficking operation facilitated by Ghislaine Maxwell and their network of accomplices. Their tactics involved luring vulnerable girls with false promises of careers or better lives, while using blackmail and corruption to maintain control over victims. Chapter 9, The Prince and the President. Whitney Webb's chapter focuses on Jeffrey Epstein's relationship with Prince Andrew and Bill Clinton, highlighting themes of blackmail, corruption, and hidden secrets. Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, his associate, recruited and groomed numerous young women for exploitation, dividing them into tiers based on their potential usefulness. Prince Andrew, a high-profile target, was lured in by promises of glamorous modeling careers. Epstein likely met Prince Andrew through Maxwell, who had connections to British nobility since her youth. Media reports suggest Maxwell introduced them around the early 2000s, with Epstein providing financial aid to Sarah Ferguson, Andrew's ex-wife, at Maxwell's suggestion. Epstein's former business partner, Stephen Heffenberg, claimed Epstein bragged about his relationship with Prince Andrew as early as 1991 and saw the prince as a target for blackmail. Despite Andrew's claim of first meeting Epstein in 1999, their association was close and unusual from the start. Their public relationship began in February 2000 when Andrew visited New York with Maxwell, staying at Epstein's residence. Reports from 2002-01 detailed their odd behavior, suggesting Andrew's deeper involvement in illicit sexual activities with minors than previously reported. By 2001, Prince Andrew was spending more time with Maxwell than his children, according to the Evening Standard. Personal friends of Epstein and Maxwell stated their relationship with the prince was manipulative and premeditated, likely for Epstein's blackmail purposes. Virginia Giuffre, Epstein's most known accuser, claimed she was introduced to Prince Andrew by Epstein and Maxwell in 2001 and forced into sexual encounters with him on multiple occasions. In 2022, Prince Andrew settled a lawsuit with Giuffre for an alleged $20 million, avoiding court testimony about their past meetings. The chapter also explores Epstein's growing closeness to Bill Clinton around the same time. Despite media claims that Clinton's association began post-presidency, evidence shows a deeper relationship earlier. By 2002, Clinton was referred to as Epstein's latest prized addition. Epstein's involvement in shaping Clinton's post-presidential philanthropy suggests ulterior motives, considering his past financial crimes and associations with organized crime and intelligence networks. Epstein played a significant role in the creation of Clinton's Clinton Foundation, with key personnel like Doug Band often present on Epstein's flights. This aligns with Philanthropy 2, a new model of philanthropy involving billionaires making multi-year commitments to socially impactful businesses. Critics argue this is not true philanthropy, but rather venture capitalism with public relations benefits. The chapter also highlights how Epstein's plane was used for trips connecting Clinton with various global leaders and business figures, likely influencing Clinton's international trade missions and promoting arms deals, such as benefiting Bay Systems. The lack of investigation into Andrew's time as a trustee at the Outward Bound Trust may have provided protection from prosecution for Epstein and Maxwell's associates involved in child trafficking. In summary, Whitney Webb presents evidence suggesting that both Prince Andrew and Bill Clinton were entrapped by Jeffrey Epstein as part of his international sex trafficking operation linked to intelligence networks. The manipulation and exploitation continued until Epstein's exposure led to financial settlements and legal consequences, including Clinton's $20 million payout to Giuffre in 2022. Chapter 10, Epstein Edge and Big Tech. In 2001, an article by Nigel Rosser revealed that Jeffrey Epstein had business ties with Bill Gates, alongside other influential figures like Donald Trump and Leslie Wexner. This information suggests that Gates's relationship with Epstein was not as new as commonly reported, dating back possibly to 1985 or 1987. Epstein's close friend Maria Farmer also mentioned that he implied a close friendship with Bill Gates, hinting at potential visits to his residences. Before this article, there was evidence of Microsoft's connection to a business run by Ghislaine Maxwell's sisters, where Ghislaine had financial interest. Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's close associate, was involved in the creation of McKinley Group with her sister Christine and their husbands. Despite struggles and a failed IPO attempt, the group managed to secure major alliances with tech giants like AT&T, Time Warner, IBM, Netcom, and Microsoft Network, MSN. Ghislaine played a crucial role in these deals, despite little public information about her exact involvement. Microsoft's co-founder Bill Gates is linked to Epstein through these business connections and potentially through his relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell. After the McKinley Group sale, Isabel Maxwell became president of ComTouch, an Israeli tech company. Her ties to Microsoft persisted as the company made a significant investment in ComTouch, helping it go public and providing crucial funding despite the firm's lack of profitability. These connections highlight the complex relationships between Epstein, Gates, and other influential figures, hinting at potential uses of their influence for various purposes, including scientific research and technological advancements. The extent and nature of these connections remain subjects of ongoing investigation and speculation. Chapter 11, The Future of Blackmail. Whitney Webb delves into Carbine 911, a tech startup promising to modernize emergency call handling. Initially praised by US and Israeli media, it aims to enhance 911 services with advanced technology, reducing response time significantly. Carbine has spread across several countries, including the US and Latin America, with offices in major cities like New York, Mexico City, London, and Tel Aviv. However, after Jeffrey Epstein's arrest in 2019, scrutiny intensified around Carbine. Epstein, a key financial backer, had strong ties to Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, who served as Carbine's chairman. This revelation, reported by Narrative, raised concerns over the startup's intelligence connections and potential privacy issues. Following Epstein's death, Carbine's leadership underwent significant changes to obscure its links to Israel, especially Barak. The company's CEO, Amir Alichai, along with co-founders Little Leshem and Alex Dizengoff, had connections to Unit 8200, an elite intelligence unit in the IDF. Another board member, Nicole Junkerman, also linked to Epstein. Carbine's app extracts extensive data from users' phones, even without the app installed, if the user contacts a Carbine-connected 911 center. This feature raises privacy concerns as Carbine aims to connect all emergency networks nationwide under its next-generation 911, NG911, platform. Webb highlights how countries like China have misused similar platforms for mass surveillance, profiling citizens and tracking their activities. Carbine's C-Records component stores data on past incidents, aiding in predictive analysis, reminiscent of pre-crime policing, a focus of Palantir, another key player in Webb's narrative. Palantir, founded by Peter Thiel and Alex Karp, is positioned as the privatized panopticon of the national security state, using big data for domestic surveillance. Initially part of Total Information Awareness, TIA, a controversial Pentagon program, Palantir continued TIA's mission post-shutdown, albeit in private hands. The story unfolds with connections to the Iran-Contra scandal and Main Core, a database of U.S. citizens considered enemies of the state for minor reasons. These elements were facilitated by stolen PROMIS software, originally developed for law enforcement but misused for mass surveillance and blackmail. Webb explores how Chiliad, a data analytics firm co-founded by Christine Maxwell and Alan Wade, also tied to the CIA, may have been a continuation of PROMIS. Chiliad pivoted from counterterrorism to healthcare data analysis, mirroring Palantir's expansion into similar sectors under guidance from UK intelligence. Webb suggests that modern blackmail leverages digital data mining, reducing risks and increasing efficiency over traditional methods involving trafficked individuals. Epstein, anticipating the data economy's rise, sought influence over tech giants to access their vast data troves, shifting from sexual blackmail to data-driven control tactics. The narrative underscores how interconnected digital surveillance systems enable mass control, making once valuable human operatives for blackmail obsolete. As Webb concludes, understanding these power dynamics is crucial in challenging entrenched corruption and asserting data sovereignty against exploitative elites. And that brings us to the end of our summary of this book. I hope you found it insightful and valuable. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe for more. Your support helps us bring you more great content. Thanks for watching.